The first warning arrived on a windy morning, folded into a clean white envelope that looked too polite to carry bad news. Amina stood at her small front gate and stared at the stamp as if it could explain itself. The paper said "Final Notice" in big letters, the kind that felt like shouting even when nobody made a sound. She had lived in this little home for nearly 50 years. The walls were not fancy. The roof had been repaired more times than she could count. But every corner held a memory, and every memory felt like a brick in the foundation. She did not open the envelope right away. She walked back inside, placed it on the table, and made tea with shaking hands. The kettle whistled like it was warning her too. Her living room smelled of old wood, cardamom, and the faint dust that collects in places where life has been lived honestly. On the wall, there was a framed photograph of her husband, Haroon, taken years before his hair turned grey. In the picture he was smiling as if the world had always been kind. That smile made her chest tighten. Amina finally opened the letter, smoothing it with her palm. It said the government had approved a redevelopment project to widen the main road and build a new commercial line of shops. Her home sat on the edge of the route. The letter claimed the land was needed for public benefit. It offered compensation that would not buy even a tiny room in the city. It gave her 14 days to sign papers or face forced removal. Amina read it twice, then a third time, as if the words might change if she looked hard enough. She did not cry. Not yet. She folded the paper neatly and placed it under a plate like it was something she could hide from the world. Then she walked to the back courtyard, where the sun touched her small patch of mint and 2 lemon trees. She had planted those trees the year her daughter left for the city. The trees had grown. The house had aged. Amina had stayed. Her daughter had not. For years, the neighbors had used careful words when they talked about it. They said things like, "Life pulls children away," or "City life makes people forget." Some people judged. Some people felt sorry. Amina never defended her daughter out loud. She kept that story inside her like a stone she carried without showing anyone. The truth was simple and complicated at the same time. Her daughter, Sana, had left after a fight that changed everything. Not the kind of fight that ends with loud insults and broken dishes. This one ended with silence and a door closing that felt like the end of a chapter. Sana had wanted a different life. Amina had wanted safety. Each believed the other did not understand. And then years turned into more years. Amina had learned to live with absence the way people learn to live with a limp. Some days it barely hurt. Some days it hurt so much she wanted to scream. But she never screamed. She kept going. Now the letter sat on her table like a threat with official ink. By evening, the whole street seemed to know. News traveled fast in old neighborhoods, especially the kind that scared people. When Amina stepped outside to sweep the front steps, her neighbor Rashid leaned over his wall and said, "I heard they marked your house." Amina kept sweeping. People hear many things. Rashid shook his head. "It's true. They came to measure the road near the corner. They have maps. Your place is on it." Across the lane, old Fozona stood with her hands on her hips. "They did the same in my cousin's area," she called out. "They promised money and gave half. Then the bulldozers came." The word bulldozers made Amina's throat go dry. Still, she nodded politely, like she was listening to gossip and not a warning about her life. That night, she slept in short pieces. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw men in hard hats, the front wall breaking, the lemon trees crushed. She saw herself standing in the street holding her teacup, confused, like someone had removed the ground under her feet. At dawn, she got up, washed her face, and put on her plain blue shawl. She took the letter and walked to the local office. The building was a grey box that smelled like old files and impatience. People stood in lines that moved like tired animals. Amina held her letter and waited until someone behind a desk finally looked at her. The man at the desk did not smile. His badge said "Naved." His eyes said "Hurry up." "Yes?" he asked. Amina placed the letter on the desk carefully. "This came to my house." He scanned it with quick eyes. "Ah. Seizure and relocation notice. Standard." "Standard." Amina repeated softly. "This is my home." Naved leaned back. "Madam, It is public land. It is needed for development. You will be compensated. Amina swallowed. My husband bought this house. Naved's eyebrows lifted just a little, like he had heard this story 1,000 times. Do you have papers? Amina's fingers tightened around her shawl. I have what he left me. There are documents at home. Bring them, Naved said, already turning to the next file. But you should know, even with papers, if the route is approved, the project will move forward. You can accept compensation and relocate, or you can make things difficult and still lose. Amina felt heat rise in her face, not anger exactly, but humiliation. Where will I go? Naved shrugged. That's not my department. When she walked out of the office, the sun looked too bright. The street noise sounded far away, like she was underwater. Her legs carried her home on habit, but her mind was stuck in that office, hearing the word standard again and again. Back inside, she opened her old metal trunk. It had Haroon's clothes, a few letters, and the property documents wrapped in cloth. She unwrapped them with care, like she was touching something sacred. There it was, an old deed, faded but clear. Her husband's name. The stamp. The date. Proof that this house was not something the government could call public land so easily. Amina pressed the paper to her chest and whispered, Haroon, help me. But paper was only paper. It did not speak. It did not fight back. At noon, 2 men arrived at her gate. One carried a clipboard. The other carried a measuring tool. They wore bright vests and acted like her front yard belonged to them already. Assalam, the one with the clipboard said without looking at her face. We need to take measurements. Amina stood firm in the doorway. You will not enter. The man sighed, annoyed. Madam, this is government work. This is my home, she said. Her voice surprised even her. It was stronger than she expected. The second man pointed at the boundary. We just need numbers. Don't make this difficult. Amina lifted the deed paper. This is not public land. My husband bought it. Clipboard man barely glanced. You can show this at the office. We have orders. Amina felt something inside her crack. Not like breaking glass. More like a dry branch finally snapping after being bent for too long. Leave, she said. The men exchanged looks. Clipboard man's voice turned colder. You have 14 days. After that, it will not be a request. They walked away. Their footsteps were calm. That calmness scared Amina more than shouting would have. When the gate clicked shut, Amina sank onto the step and stared at her hands. They looked small. Old. Not the hands of a woman who could stop machines and signatures. For the first time that day, tears came. They rolled down slowly, quietly, like they had been waiting in line behind her pride. She wiped them fast, because she hated crying where the neighbors might see. But even as she wiped her face, she knew she could not fight this alone. She had one person she could call. One person who had once promised, long ago, if you ever need me, I will come. That promise had faded with time, like the ink on Haroon's papers. Still, Amina could not stop herself from reaching for it. She went to the small drawer beside her bed and took out an old phone with a cracked screen. She did not use it much, but the number was stored there. She had never deleted it, even when she told herself she should. Sana. Amina stared at the name until her eyes blurred. Her thumb hovered above the call button, trembling. What if Sana did not answer? What if she answered and spoke like a stranger? What if she laughed at the idea of returning for an old house in a forgotten neighborhood? Amina's pride whispered, don't do it. You survived without her. But another voice, quieter and deeper, said, this is bigger than pride. This is your life. She pressed the button. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. On the 4th ring, someone picked up. Hello. A woman's voice said, cautious, as if expecting a wrong number. Amina could not speak for a moment. The sound of her daughter's voice hit her like a memory she had tried not to touch. It was older now, firmer. But it was still her. Sana, Amina whispered. There was silence. Then a sharp inhale. Ami. Sana said. The word came out like it had been stored away and suddenly pulled into the light. Amina's throat tightened. Yes. Another pause, longer this time. In the background, Amina heard city sounds, traffic, maybe a bus. Sana's life, moving quickly somewhere far away. Is everything okay? Sana asked, and her voice changed. It softened. The caution turned into worry. Amina looked at the letter on the table. She looked at the deed paper. She looked at her lemon trees through the window. No, she said simply. Everything is not okay. Sana did not interrupt. She waited. Amina took a breath. They sent a notice. They want to take the house. They say it is for redevelopment. They came today to measure. The words spilled out faster now, like water breaking through a dam. They say 14 days. The money they offer is nothing. They say even with papers, it will happen. Sana, her voice broke on her daughter's name. I don't know what to do. There was a sound on the other end, like Sana standing up suddenly. What do you mean take the house? Sana asked. The calm tone disappeared. Something fierce replaced it. Do they have a court order? Did you sign anything? Amina blinked. She did not expect questions like that. No. I signed nothing. Good, Sana said quickly. Don't sign anything. Not a single paper. Amina held the phone tighter. Sana, I have the deed. Your Abbas deed. Keep it safe, Sana said. Lock it somewhere. Take photos of it if you can. Amina swallowed. Can you help me? The question hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament. If Sana said no, it would shatter. Sana's voice lowered, serious. Ami, I'm coming. Amina's heart jolted. Coming? Yes, Sana said. I'm coming back. Today I will arrange it. I will be there soon. Amina's eyes filled again, but this time the tears felt different. Not only fear. Something else too. Hope, mixed with disbelief. Sana, she whispered, it has been so long. I know, Sana replied, and in her tone there was regret, heavy and real. But this is not happening. Not to you. The line went quiet for a second, then Sana added, almost like she was speaking to herself, they picked the wrong house. After the call ended, Amina sat very still. The room felt the same. The furniture did not change. The letter was still there. The deadline was still real. But the air had shifted. Like a door had opened somewhere, letting in a wind from another world. Sana was coming back. Amina could not decide if that was a blessing, a storm, or both. She walked to the mirror and looked at her face. She saw the lines around her eyes, the grey hair at her temples, the tiredness she carried. Then she looked deeper and saw something she had not seen in a long time. She saw herself as a mother again, not just an old woman waiting for days to pass. Outside, the street carried on like usual. Children ran. A motorcycle passed. Someone called out a greeting. But inside Amina's house, time felt like it had paused, waiting for the next scene. Because when Sana returned, she would not return only as a daughter. She would return with all the unanswered years between them. And with a fight that was about to shake the whole neighborhood. Sana arrived 2 days later, just after sunset. Amina heard the taxi stop outside and felt her heart jump like it used to when she was young and waiting for someone important. She stood near the doorway, unsure if she should step out first or stay inside. Her hands kept fixing the edge of her shawl even though it was already straight. When the gate opened, Sana walked in with a small bag on one shoulder and a larger one in her hand. She looked tired, like the city had taken a piece of her and refused to give it back. But her eyes were sharp. Focused. The kind of eyes that did not accept excuses. Amina took one step forward. Sana stopped too. For a moment, neither of them moved. The years between them stood in the space like a third person. Then Sana spoke first. Ami. Amina's voice came out thin. You came. Sana's jaw tightened, like she was holding back too many things at once. Of course I came. Amina wanted to say more. She wanted to ask why it took a threat to bring her daughter home. She wanted to say how many nights she had stared at the phone and put it back in the drawer. She wanted to say she forgave her, and also that she did not. But all of that felt too big to carry in one sentence. So she did what mothers often do when their hearts are full and their mouths are empty. She reached out and touched Sana's cheek. Sana blinked fast and leaned into the touch for 1 second, then straightened again, as if she had remembered there was work to do. "Show me the notice," Sana said. Amina led her inside. The house felt smaller with Sana in it, not because Sana was big, but because her presence filled the air. Sana placed her bag down and sat at the table like she owned the moment. Amina slid the letter toward her. Sana read it once, then again, slower. Her fingers tapped the paper lightly, like she was counting the lies. "They wrote public land here," Sana said, pointing. "That is a strong claim. It is also a dangerous one." Amina brought out the deed wrapped in cloth. "This is what your Abba kept safe." Sana opened it carefully. Her face changed when she saw Harun's name. Not soft, not emotional. More like the way someone looks at a shield after being cornered. "This is good," Sana said. "But we have to do this properly. These cases are not only about truth. They are about paperwork, timelines, and pressure." Amina sat across from her. "I went to the office. The man said it will happen no matter what." Sana's eyes lifted. "What was his name?" "Naved," Amina said. Sana nodded once, storing it away. "Okay." Amina studied her daughter. "How do you know so much about this?" Sana hesitated, then said, "Because I have seen it before. In the city. People lose homes because they get scared and sign the wrong paper. Or because officials make files disappear." Amina's chest tightened. "Sana, what are you now? What work do you do?" Sana looked down at the letter again. "I work with a legal aid group. I am not a big lawyer. But I know enough to stop this if we move fast." Amina's eyes widened. "You never told me." Sana's mouth pressed into a line. "You never asked. And I never came back." The silence that followed was heavy, but it did not feel like a fight. It felt like an honest truth sitting between them, not attacking, just existing. Sana pushed the letter aside. "First thing tomorrow, we go to the land records office. We get certified copies. Not just your deed. The map record, the route approval, everything." Amina's voice shook. "Will they give it?" "They have to," Sana said. "And if they do not, we make noise." That night, Amina watched Sana move around the house like someone walking through an old dream. Sana touched the kitchen shelf, opened a drawer, looked at the cracked window near the back courtyard. Her eyes paused on the lemon trees. "You still kept them," Sana said quietly. Amina nodded. "I kept everything." Sana did not respond, but she stood there a little longer than necessary, like she was trying to breathe the past and the present at the same time. The next morning, they left early. The land records office was different from the local project office. It was larger, noisier, filled with people carrying folders and hope. The walls were lined with notices and faded posters about honesty that nobody seemed to believe. Amina clutched her cloth bundle and stayed close to Sana, who walked with purpose, asking questions, finding the right window, refusing to accept the first come tomorrow that was thrown at her. At one counter, a clerk took one look at them and said, "Records are not ready. Come next week." Sana leaned in slightly. Her voice stayed polite, but it was firm. "We need certified copies today. This is an active seizure case. If you delay, you are responsible for denying legal access." The clerk blinked, confused by her confidence. "Madam, the process takes time." Sana slid a small card across the counter. Amina saw it had the name of a legal aid office on it. The clerk's eyes changed. He cleared his throat. "Sit there. I will check." Amina watched her daughter and felt something strange inside her, a mix of pride and sadness. Pride that Sana had grown into someone strong. Sadness that Amina had not been there to see the growth. After 2 hours, they received copies of the map record and a file summary of the project route. Sana spread the papers on a bench like she was reading a secret code. Amina waited, nervous. What does it say? Sana pointed to a stamped sketch. They marked this strip here as public land. If that strip is public, then your front wall becomes encroachment. That is how they will argue it. Amina frowned. But we never took anyone's land. Your Abba bought this. We built the wall where the boundary was. Sana's eyes narrowed. Yes. Which means either they are lying, or someone changed the map. Amina's stomach turned. Can they do that? Sana's voice went flat. They can try. On their way back, Sana stopped at a small shop and asked for photocopies. She made a full set of every document, then placed originals in a folder and copies in another. At home, she pulled out her phone and began making calls. Amina listened from the kitchen as Sana spoke in short, serious sentences. I need an urgent property verification. Yes, today if possible. Then another call. We need a stay application. Emergency. They gave 14 days. Then another. Do you know anyone in the media who covers housing cases? Amina stepped closer. Media. Sana looked up. Sometimes paperwork is not enough. Public pressure matters too. Amina's voice lowered. But if we make noise, will they punish us? Sana's expression softened. Ami, they are already trying to take your home. Silence will not protect you. That afternoon, Sana walked to the neighbor's house, starting with Rashid. Rashid welcomed her with wide eyes. So you are the daughter. We used to see you when you were small. Sana smiled politely. Uncle, I need the neighborhood's help. Rashid frowned. Help how? Sana explained in simple words. They needed witnesses who could say the boundary wall had been there for decades. They needed old photos. Old bills. Anything showing Amina's family had maintained the property as legal owners for years. Rashid scratched his head. Photos? I might have some from weddings. Your father used to stand by that gate. Sana nodded. Even one photo can matter. Fozona, who usually loved gossip, surprised them by becoming serious. My brother worked in the old municipal office years ago, she said. He used to keep copies of maps. I can ask him. Amina watched this happen like she was watching rain after a long drought. Neighbors who normally only talked about food prices and family drama were now speaking like allies. Still, fear did not leave her. That evening, Amina noticed a motorbike parked across the road longer than normal. Two men sat on it, talking quietly. When Amina looked at them, one of them turned his face away. She went inside and closed the door. Sana saw her expression. What happened? Nothing, Amina lied, then corrected herself. Two men. They keep sitting outside. Sana walked to the window and looked. Her eyes hardened. Okay. We will be careful. But we will not stop. The next day, Sana went to the project office with Amina. This time, they did not wait quietly in line like people who expected to lose. Sana walked straight to the desk. Naved looked up, already annoyed, then froze slightly when he saw Sana. Yes, he asked. Sana placed copies of the deed and land record on the desk. This seizure notice has errors. The property is not public land. Your map marking is inconsistent with the deed and the historical boundary. Naved glanced at the papers. Madam, routes are approved at high level. Sana's voice stayed calm. Then we will file an injunction request today. If you continue measuring without verifying, we will include your office in the complaint. Naved's lips tightened. Who are you? Sana placed her legal aid card down. I represent the owner. Naved's face went blank for a moment, then he forced a small smile that did not reach his eyes. Madam, these things take time. Better accept compensation and move peacefully. Amina felt her hands shaking, but she kept quiet. She wanted to see what Sana would do. Sana leaned in slightly. Peacefully is not your word to offer when you are holding the threat. Naved's smile disappeared. Are you accusing the government? Sana straightened. I am accusing the process. There is a difference. Naved pushed the papers back. Submit your application. We will review. Sana picked up the papers. We will. And we will request full project documentation too. As they walked out, Amina whispered, he did not look happy. Sana replied, that is okay. Fear is not only for us. Outside the office, a man in a plain shirt approached them. Miss Sana, he asked. Sana paused. Yes. My name is Cameron, the man said. I work with the contractor team. I saw you inside. Sana did not relax. What do you want? Cameron lowered his voice. I should not talk, but I do not like this. This route was changed last month. It was not like this before. Sana's eyes sharpened. Changed by whom? Cameron looked around quickly. People at high level. A few plots on the other side were spared. Suddenly the route moved toward your street. Amina felt a chill. Why would they spare other plots? Cameron hesitated. Because those plots belong to people with influence. That is what everyone says. Sana held his gaze. Do you have proof? Cameron shook his head. Not proof. Only talk. But there is one thing. He took a breath. The older map copy might still be in the municipal archive. If you compare, you will see the shift. Sana's voice was steady. Why are you telling me this? Cameron's face tightened with guilt. My mother is old too. She lives in a small house. If someone did this to her, I would want help. Then he walked away before Sana could ask more. On the way home, Sana was quiet. Her fingers tapped the folder like her mind was building a plan. Amina finally asked, do you think this is corruption? Sana did not answer right away. Then she said, I think someone is trying to make your home the easy target. And I think your home is in the way of someone else's benefit. That night, Sana sat with Amina at the table, going through old papers like detectives. Electric bills. Water bills. A school certificate with Sana's name and the home address. A photo from a wedding, showing Haroon standing beside the front gate, the boundary wall visible behind him. Sana held the photo gently. This is good. We will scan it. Amina watched Sana's face soften for a second as she looked at Haroon. You miss him, Amina said quietly. Sana's throat moved. I miss him every day. Amina's eyes filled, but she kept her voice steady. Then why did you leave and never come back? Sana's hands froze on the table. The room went still. I left because I was angry, Sana admitted. I thought you both did not believe in me. I thought the city would prove I was right. Amina whispered, and did it? Sana gave a small, tired laugh with no humor. The city proved only that life is hard everywhere, just in different ways. Amina's voice trembled. I waited. Sana looked at her. Her eyes were wet now. I know. Amina did not push further. She did not want to lose the fragile bridge forming between them. She simply reached across the table and placed her hand over Sana's hand. Sana's fingers curled slightly, holding on. The next morning, the first reel came, not in the form of a bulldozer, but in a message. Amina's neighbor Rashid ran in, breathless. They are coming again. With more people. Sana stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. How many? 4 or 5, Rashid said. And one has a camera. Sana grabbed the folder. Ami, stay inside. Do not argue. Let me handle it. Amina's heart pounded. No, I will stand with you. Sana looked at her mother's face and nodded. Okay. Stand beside me. Not in front of me. They stepped outside together. This time, the men were not only measurers. One wore a formal shirt and carried a file. Another had a small camera and recorded the front wall. The two from before stood behind them. The formal shirt man smiled like he was doing something kind. Madam Amina, we are here for verification and notice reading. Sana stepped forward. Who are you? The man's smile stayed. I am Bilal. Project liaison. Sana pointed at the camera. Why is he recording? Bilal replied smoothly. For documentation. Standard procedure. Sana's eyes narrowed. Then record this too. She held up the deed and the map copies. This home is privately owned. Any attempt to mark it public without court order is harassment. Bilal's smile twitched. Madam, we have legal approvals. Sana's tone stayed calm. Show them. Bilal opened his file and pulled out a paper. It was not a court order. It was an internal approval notice. Sana shook her head. This is not a court order. This is an office memo. Bilal's voice cooled. The project will proceed. You can appeal, but you cannot block progress. Sana held his gaze. We already filed an emergency application. And we will seek a stay. Bilal's eyes moved to Amina, then back to Sana. Appeals take time. Time you do not have. Amina felt fear tighten her chest, but she did not step back. She stood beside her daughter and said, This house is my life. I will not leave like a thief. Bilal's smile returned, but it looked sharp now. Madam, nobody called you a thief. Do not make emotional speeches. This is development. Sana's eyes flashed. Development is not stealing from the weak to protect the strong. Bilal's face hardened. Careful, madam. Sana stepped closer. No. You be careful. There are witnesses here. And you are on record. The camera kept rolling. Rashid and Fazona stood nearby, watching. Other neighbors started coming out, slowly forming a line behind Amina and Sana. No shouting, no chaos. Just people standing, showing they were not alone. Bilal looked around and realized the street was not quiet anymore. He cleared his throat. We will return after reviewing your file. Sana did not move. Return with a court order, or do not return. Bilal signaled the men. They left, the camera still pointed at the house until the last second. When they were gone, Amina's knees felt weak. Sana reached for her elbow and steadied her. You did good, Sana said quietly. Amina exhaled. My heart is shaking. Sana looked at the folder in her hand. Mine too. But we are close. That afternoon, Sana met with a local lawyer named Heiner at a small office above a pharmacy. Amina waited outside, staring at the passing traffic, feeling like her whole life had become a case file. When Sana finally came down, her face was serious. What? Amina asked immediately. Sana took a breath. The lawyer says we have a strong case, but there is a problem. Amina's stomach dropped. What problem? Sana looked at her mother with careful eyes. The latest land record copy shows a boundary adjustment from 15 years ago. It claims the front strip was surrendered for road use. Amina froze. Surrendered. We never gave anything. I know, Sana said. That is why it looks like a forged entry or a manipulated update. But the record exists, and the government will use it. Amina felt dizzy. 15 years ago. She tried to remember. That was when your Abba was sick. We were in hospitals. We were not thinking about land. Sana's voice turned low and intense. Exactly. That is when someone could have done it quietly. Amina's hands went cold. How do we fight a record? Sana stared at the street like she was seeing the battle ahead. We find the older map. We find witnesses. We find proof that no surrender happened. We expose who benefited. Amina whispered, and if we cannot? Sana turned to her. Then we make sure they cannot touch this house without the whole city seeing. That night, Sana stayed awake long after Amina went to bed. Amina saw the light under the door and heard the soft sound of papers being turned, phone calls being made in whispers. Amina lay in the dark, feeling both comforted and terrified. Sana was here. That was a miracle. But something bigger was moving now, something with power and cold hands. Amina closed her eyes and prayed that her daughter's return would be enough. Because the deadline was getting closer. And now, the enemy did not only want the house. They wanted the story of the house to disappear too. The pressure arrived quietly, like fog slipping under a door. On the 10th day after the notice, Amina woke before dawn and sensed something was wrong. The street felt too silent. Even the stray cat that usually slept near her gate was gone. She stepped outside and saw a red mark sprayed on the side wall of her house. Amina's breath caught. The mark was not large, but it was clear. A signal. A warning. Sana came out moments later and froze when she saw it. They marked it, Sana said, her voice tight. Amina's legs weakened. Does that mean they will come? Sana clenched her jaw. It means they want us to panic. But panic did come, even if Sana tried to stop it. By mid-morning, rumors spread fast. Some neighbors said bulldozers were already moving in another area. Others said officials had decided to clear the street by force. Amina sat on her prayer mat, hands trembling. Every sound outside made her flinch. Sana paced the room, phone in hand. She made calls again and again. Some people answered. Some did not. One call ended with a warning spoken in a low voice. Sana, be careful. This case is touching people with influence. Sana replied firmly, that is exactly why I will not stop. At noon, Heine the lawyer arrived at the house with urgent news. The emergency stay application is listed, Heine said. But the hearing is tomorrow morning. Amina's heart sank. Tomorrow. What if they come today? Heine nodded. That is the risk. We need to make it impossible for them to act quietly. Sana looked up. How? Heine replied, public attention. Media. Community. Sana did not hesitate. Then we do it today. Within hours, Sana moved like someone on a mission. She called a journalist she once helped with a housing story. She sent scanned copies of documents, old photos, the conflicting maps, the red marking on the wall. She asked Rashid and Fozona to call other neighbors. By late afternoon, people gathered in front of Amina's house. Not shouting. Not blocking roads. Just standing, talking, pointing at the documents Sana displayed on a small table. A camera crew arrived just before sunset. The reporter spoke calmly into the camera. We are standing outside the home of Amina, a widow whose house is marked for seizure under a redevelopment project. Her family claims the land record was altered without consent. Amina stood slightly behind Sana, her heart racing. She had never imagined her life becoming news. The reporter turned to Sana. What do you want to say? Sana took a breath. This is not only about my mother. This is about how quietly records can be changed when people are weak. Development should not erase lives. The camera turned to Amina. Amina's hand shook, but she spoke anyway. My husband bought this house. I raised my child here. I never gave anything away. I only asked to live my last years where my memories are. Her voice did not break. The strength surprised even her. The report aired that night. By morning, everything changed. At dawn, a black car stopped outside the house. Two men stepped out, dressed formally. Behind them came Bilal, the project liaison, his expression tight. Sana stepped forward before they could speak. One of the new men introduced himself. I am Asif from the Regional Planning Office. We are here to review the situation. Sana crossed her arms. With a court order. Asif hesitated. We are aware of the hearing today. We are instructed to pause all action until then. Amina felt her knees almost give way. Pause. Even that word felt like relief. The men left without marking anything else. At the court hearing, the small room was packed. Heine presented the case clearly. She showed the old deed. The wedding photo. The bills. The map inconsistency. She pointed to the suspicious boundary update made while Harun was ill. The government lawyer argued routine process. Public benefit. Approved route. Then Sana stood. She did not speak like a daughter begging for mercy. She spoke like someone presenting a fact that refused to be ignored. She showed two maps side by side. One from before the update. One after. This change spared 3 commercial plots on the opposite side, Sana said. Plots owned by individuals linked to the project contractor. The route shifted only enough to target weaker households. The room went quiet. The judge leaned forward. "Is this true?" he asked the government lawyer. The lawyer hesitated. Heine added, "We request a full inquiry into the boundary alteration and an immediate stay on seizure." The judge looked at Amina, then at Sana. "I grant an immediate stay," he said. "No action on this property until the inquiry is complete." Amina felt tears rise, but she held them back. The inquiry moved faster than anyone expected. Within 2 weeks, the truth surfaced. A retired municipal clerk confirmed the original boundary. A missing archive copy appeared, matching Sana's claim. The boundary update was proven unauthorized. The project route was officially corrected. The government withdrew the seizure notice. Bilal was transferred. The contractor faced investigation. One morning, Amina received a new letter. This one did not shout. It confirmed her ownership and apologized for inconvenience. Amina read it slowly, then placed it on the table where the first letter once lay. That evening, the neighborhood celebrated quietly. Tea was shared. Stories were told. Laughter returned to the street. Later that night, Amina and Sana sat in the courtyard under the lemon trees. The air smelled fresh. Safe. Amina spoke softly. "You fought like your father." Sana smiled. "I learned from both of you." Amina hesitated, then said what had lived in her chest for years. "Will you leave again?" Sana looked at the house. At the trees. At her mother. "No," she said. "Not like before." Amina nodded, accepting the answer as it was. The house stood still, unchanged. But everything inside it was different. Because the government tried to take an old woman's home. And her daughter returned, not just to save a house, but to reclaim a life that should never have been threatened.